So 2 races down in the season and 22 to go, with the third round of the year taking us down under.
G'day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
And to Australia, specifically Albert Park in Melbourne. Now, Australia is known for a number of things: sunshine, beaches, food, and of course the local wildlife, specifically with some of the most poisonous and toxic animals on the planet, meaning Christian Horner will feel right at home this weekend. Coming in, and the local fans for the first time in years had not one but 2 local drivers to cheer for, though to be fair with Ricciardo and RB's recent form, he's not exactly making it easy for people. But with all that intro stuff now out of the way, let's get into my ultimate review of Formula 1 and the 2024 Australian Grand Prix. So in the run-up to Australia, what had been going on? Well, put simply, Valtteri Bottas had been doing a madness, fully embracing his inner Australian with some just crazy commercials, advertising Uber car share while in his outfit. I don't even know what you call it, to be honest, but at least he's clearly having some fun away from the track, because let's be honest, driving for Sauber, he can't be having too much fun while on it. Elsewhere, and we had a more serious issue regarding Susie Wolff, with the managing director of F1 Academy releasing a statement that details how she'd filed a criminal complaint against the FIA in relation to statements made about her in December. Notice also how when describing her, I use one of her most successful achievements in motorsport, and not as an F1 team boss's wife. Like, come on Sky, just be better. But this story does all relate to the overall lack of transparency from the FIA, well, about everything. Because if there's one thing F1's governing body is known for, it's being anything but transparent. With Lewis Hamilton being asked about the organisation, and specifically his thoughts on FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem, and if the man in charge still had the confidence of the 7-time world champion. His response: he never has. So into some practice then, and there was one corner in particular causing a lot of issues, turn 10, with George Russell having a big wobble through the far chicane. Let's be honest though, when does that Mercedes ever look stable? Then following George, it was the turn of Fernando Alonso, who went through a little ride on the gravel on the exit of turn 11. But taking the turn 10 crown was Valtteri Bottas, as he lost it mid-corner and went spinning 360 degrees, but did manage to keep it out of the wall. Elsewhere on track, and turn 1 was also proving pretty challenging, as once again it was George Russell with issues, as he went grass cutting at the first corner, also joined by Charles Leclerc, who made his way through the gravel, and then Lewis Hamilton, who ended up taking a slightly more aerial route through the runoff. I guess it does kind of sum up his practice really, down in 18th place in FP2. Talking of drivers you may have expected down in P18, and it's Lance Stroll, the Canadian doing a little bit of gardening at the second to last corner. Clearly a trial run for later on, when he decided to invent a completely new racing line at the exact same turn. However, when it came to practice incidents, nobody came close to Alex Albon, who went smashing into the wall at the exit of turn 6, which broke pretty much everything on his Williams. But you know, while not ideal, the team would get the car fixed and he'd be good to go. Right, Williams? Well, as it turned out, kinda no. As with Williams being the top class F1 outfit that they are, they had no spare chassis.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Meaning that from Saturday onwards, there would only be one Williams car out on track, and that includes qualifying in the race. Now, given that Logan Sargent had done nothing wrong at this point, you'd think he'd keep his car, right? Wrong. As after watching Logan's attempt at driving in FP2, and then his incredibly bad attempt at an actual overtake later in the session, team principal James Vowles decided to give Logan's car to Alex.
Don't worry, look, I'm here to help you. Please don't get upset. They're gonna blow fire in your face, you fucking donkey!
Now, while I do completely understand the decision, you do have to feel a bit bad for Logan. Into some qualifying then, and the first person to get some attention was Esteban Ocon, as after hitting the wall on the final turn, he had one more chance to impress, where the Frenchman performed what I can only describe as a miracle, getting his Alpine through into Q2, something that Daniel Ricciardo also managed to do.
Are you sure about that?
Turns out he didn't, thanks to track limits. I guess at least he's not in a car that's really up to much anyway. Into Q2, and something that's becoming a bit of a tradition now, and Lewis Hamilton struggling to get into Q3, with the Brits sitting in P10 and just Lance Stroll left to complete his lap. But you know, it's Lance Stroll. I'm sure he'll be fine.
I do think we have an amazing car. There's a lot of potential in it.
Into Q3, and once Fernando Alonso was done off-roading, we could get into some times. The session beginning with what looked like a potential Ferrari 1-2, and the Scuderia looking pretty good. Never mind then. Further down the order, and Lance Stroll had done something pretty amazing, as he beat teammate Fernando Alonso. Now I know what you're thinking, it's only one position, but hey, this man just beat 2 world champions in the space of like 15 minutes. On to race day, and at the start it was all pretty clean, with George Russell making the most of the opening lap by getting by Sergio Perez. But up at the front was where things were really exciting, as Carlos Sainz was in DRS range of Max Verstappen, getting closer and closer and past the Red Bull at turn 10 up into the lead. But with the pace of that Red Bull, you'd think Max would be getting by pretty quick. As it turned out, he was most definitely not, because on just lap 4 there was smoke coming from the Red Bull, and you know what they say, there's no smoke without fire, which in the case of Verstappen's Red Bull was a rear brake fire melting the car and forcing him out of the race. Now then, from one team that rarely gets things wrong, to one that seemingly always is. As with high tyre wear, it was early pit stops for a lot of cars, or in the case of Valtteri Bottas, a pit stop plus about 15 seconds of trying to figure out how to attach a wheel. Fast forward to lap 17, and over at Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton was looking to make progress after a poor qualifying. His car though, apparently wasn't. As without warning, the Mercedes engine gave up and that was his race over. The timing tower glitching back to Monza 2021 it seems. And you know, I'm sure Lewis will be devastated, as with Max out, this was a chance for a win. I'm joking of course, that Mercedes was really nowhere. Summed up by Sergio Perez on lap 22, breezing by George Russell to take himself up the order and into 6th place, with the last remaining Red Bull continuing on forward, passing Alonso for 5th just a couple laps later. Further up ahead, and it was a Ferrari 1-2, Sainz then Leclerc, and a McLaren 3-4, Norris then Piastri, with Charles the first to make a second stop and rejoining with Perez and Alonso. And when I say with, I mean literally all of them merging into one car. The three all nose to tail into turn 1, but all staying in the same position. Meanwhile at McLaren, and Oscar Piastri was yet to pit, probably because he was too busy cutting the grass at the second to last corner. To be fair, once he did stop, he came out behind Alonso and made a pretty nice move to get by into 4th place, with Yuki Tsunoda further down the order giving him a run for overtake of the day, with a late dive down the inside of Pierre Gasly into turn 12 to move up into the points. To lap 50 of 58 now, and it's time for the final few laps, with Norris chasing Leclerc for 2nd but not really making enough progress. Further back though, and with fresher tyres, George Russell was closing in on Alonso for 6th, closing but not quite passing. Instead, he was crashing on the final lap while chasing someone down out in dramatic fashion with Sainz up in P1. Now where have we seen this before? Right up at the front though, and for Carlos Sainz it was a reasonably trouble-free win. Not gonna lie, this Ferrari dominance is getting pretty boring. But anyways, that is all for now. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, do make sure to give the video a thumbs up and get yourself subscribed to the channel. But until next time, take care.